Germany built 1,162 U-boats in World War II, of which 785 were destroyed and the remainder surrendered at the capitulation. Altogether, 19 shipyards in 13 German cities built these submarines for the German Navy. The largest factory was in the city of Hamburg. Blohm Voss, the famous German shipbuilding and engineering company, was founded in 1877. Its most famous product was the battleship Bismarck. But during World War II, the company concentrated mainly on submarine construction. The 350-meter-long main dry dock, the Elbe 17, was built on the instructions of the German Navy High Command and was completed in 1942. With 224 submarines, this company built approximately 20% of the German Navy's submarine fleet. Blohm Voss, the leader of the company, became the head of the shipbuilding main committee of the Ministry of Armaments and Ammunition, headed by Albert Speer in 1942. His task was to increase submarine production for the Navy, while at the same time boosting civilian shipbuilding in occupied Europe. To achieve this goal, Blohm used thousands of forced laborers from all over Europe. From the summer of 1944, prisoners from the Neuengamme concentration camp were also deployed. Blohm and Voss set up a sub-camp of the concentration camp on the shipyard site next to the southern entrance of the old Elbe tunnel. Around 600 prisoners were interned and forced to work, including large groups from Poland and the Soviet Union. In general, Germany's submarine building rested on industrial firms manufacturing the many component parts going into the submarines. Certain German firms possessed a near monopoly on certain component parts for the submarines. For example, the Akkumulatorenfabrik AG in Hagen was the sole manufacturer of the special batteries for the U-boats. Zeiss Works in Jena supplied most of the high-technology periscopes for the German submarines. A similar role was played by the German steel construction industry, which was located mainly in the Rhineland in the Ruhr areas. It supplied, for example, the plates of special steel for the outer hulls. After the first submarine campaign in the Atlantic was lost in the summer of 1943, the industrial shipbuilding was reformed under the control of Albert Speer. With the designing and building of the prefabricated sectionalized electro boats, the Type 21 U-boat, between 1943 and 1945, the conventional shipbuilding methods were reduced and a turning point was reached. These newly designed types were characterized by greater submerged speed because large battery facilities and powerful electrical engines, and a depth emergence capacity. All of these boats were also equipped with modern components and a better target finding system. The process of section building made possible a shorter production type of the submarines, as well as the manufacturing of component parts by steel firms. But the building of these new boats made a considerable effort for the German industry in the last 2 years of the war, which produced many difficulties in the technical, supply, and organizational sectors. Allied air attacks on the waterway system on which the sections were transported to the shipbuilding yards and the destruction of the railroad traffic since the autumn of 1944 further reduced the output of these boats. During World War II, the industrial firms manufacturing components parts for the submarines were only in isolated cases a special target of the Allied bombing raids. On the 17th of April 1942, the British Bomber Command Chief Arthur Harris sent a small force of 12 four-engined Lancaster aircraft to the submarine diesel engines factory of Mann in Augsburg. The Bomber Command lost 7 aircraft as a result of this raid, but the damage in Augsburg was minimal. Since British intelligence stated that there were no clue that the supply of the submarines reduced, the Allied target investigation teams thought that all products of the submarine component industry were not a sensitive target system and concentrated the following raids on the shipbuilding yards. As a result of this decision, the Allies underrated the German submarine industry until the last day of the war. Shortly after the war, in November of 1945, the United States Strategic Bombing Survey stated that several air raids on both ports and cities with factories of component parts had effects on submarine production. The most important of these were the Hamburg raids between July and August of 1943 and 2 British area raids on the towns of Hagen in the Ruhr area, the location of one of the leading factories of the submarine batteries. The American investigation team further concluded in its report that, for example, the early destruction of the 2 most important battery factories in Hagen and Hanover would have weakened the submarine warfare at an early stage of the war if it had not made it impossible. It is important to note that not only the new boats must have batteries, but also the operational submarine fleet needed a great supply of batteries continuously, which was often destroyed on sea by Allied waterbombing attacks and in submerged operations. So, large-scale bombing raids on these 2 battery plants between 1941 and in the spring of 1943, in close connection with attacks on sea, would have been the winning strategy against the German submarine threat. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and to make sure you don't miss my future work, please make sure you are subscribed to my channel and press the bell notification button. Thank you, and see you in the next video.